Hey, welcome to another Friday. It's time, as always, for 5 Things Friday, and this week we are going to talk about reading. What is on my TBR stack? What are my top 5 books on that stack? Do you know what a TBR stack is? Stick with me and I'll tell ya. Happy Friday. I'm so glad that you're here with me again. I am in my favorite reading chair in my living room. I have a cup of peppermint tea, my favorite reading tea, and my cozy faux fur blanket that usually I am fighting with my cat over. She thinks that this is like her pet toy or whatever, but it's so cozy. It's kind of a slightly gloomy end of winter day. I feel like we're almost over the hump and spring is going to be on us soon. But until that happens, I'm going to soak up my cozy winter reading. And this week for 5 things, I'm going to share what is on my TBR stack, my top 5 books in my TBR stack. Do you know what TBR means? To be read. To be read. Super easy. I always have more than 5 books in my TBR stack, but I thought I would just share literally the top 5 with you today. So let's get right to it. Book number 1. Oh, wait, first I have to take a little sip of my tea. A sip of tea, book number 1. Here we go. The Tattooist of Auschwitz by Heather Morris. Have you read this book? It's been out for a little while now, and actually, even though it's book number 1 on my TBR stack this week, I started it last fall and I fell in love with it after the first couple of chapters. And I don't always start a book and then put it away, but I did because I had been on this kick of so much historical war reading. And I think I was just like at my max. But what I could tell from the first couple of chapters was that I was going to love the book. The writing was lush. I was immediately sucked into the characters, but I just had to take a break from historicals because I think I read something like 17 historicals in the month of November. So this is back on the top because I've had a little break from my World War II setting and I'm ready to dive back in, and I'm super excited to start this book, hopefully this week. I'm eager to hear if you have read it or not. Book number 1. Moving on to book number 2. This is I Don't Care If We Never Get Back by Ben Blatt and Eric Brewster. I hope I'm saying your names right, Ben and Eric. This book was actually recommended by my brother. He is a huge baseball fan, and this is a nonfiction book that documents the story of 2 friends who traveled all across the United States to make it to every Major League Baseball game within the season. So it's part road trip, part baseball lore, and part just insane craziness. We actually bought it for my son for Christmas, and I'm going to commandeer it from his bookshelf and add it to mine. I love reading nonfiction, and especially stories like this that are written with humor, but also with some real facts and fun mixed in. So I'm very excited, and it's almost baseball season, right? Spring training is upon us, so it'll be timely, I think. Book number 2. Baseball fans out there, have you read this one? It's time for a tea break, and then we'll move on to book 3. What do you love to drink when you're reading? For me, it's usually tea, sometimes coffee, but usually tea. In the winter when I'm in my cozy faux fur, but if it's summertime and I'm outside on the deck, then it's definitely like an iced coffee or maybe a lemonade. All right, drum roll. Here we go to book number 3. I have been devouring this series by Frances Brody, and spoiler alert, the reason that this book, book number 4 in her Kate Shackleton series, is on my TBR stack is because I'm currently reading book 3. So maybe this is a little bit of a cheat, but I know that I'm loving the series so much that I'm going to definitely dive right in to book 4 as soon as I finish book 3. This is A Woman Unknown. If you haven't read this series, I'm so in love with it. It's set in World War I, England. I think this might have made my list in the fall when I was sharing what I was currently reading. I read book 1 in the fall, and I've already worked my way through book 3. If I didn't read multiple things in between books, I would probably already be done with this entire series, but I'm trying to stretch it out and read it slowly. I love Kate as a character. She is a woman ahead of her time. She is starting out her own detective agency post-war in England, and of course the writing is just fantastic. The mysteries themselves keep me coming back for more, and as I've already said, I love historicals. The one thing that I typically don't do when I'm working on a project myself is read other mysteries, but when it comes to historicals, for whatever reason, I find that I can still stay really engaged and involved with them and not have it mess with what I'm writing in my head. So if you haven't tried Frances Brody, pick up this series. They're amazing. I can't believe we're already to book number 4. This is The Calculating Stars by Mary Robinette Kowal? Sorry, Mary, I have no idea. I'm terrible at pronouncing names. This is pitched a little bit like Hidden Figures. So it's fiction, but it's the story of a young woman in the 1950s who is vying to be the first female astronaut. And then there's all kinds of kind of sci-fi and everything woven in. When I read the back cover, I was like, this is speaking my language. So I'm very excited to give it a try. And I'm interested to know if anyone else out there has read it yet and what you thought. I always enjoy anything that has a touch of sci-fi, but especially sci-fi featuring female characters. Like, how can that not be a win? I'm super excited. All right, I can't believe it, but we are already to the 5th book on my TBR stack. I should show you my actual TBR stack because it's probably something like 100 million books. I don't even want to know. I always have stacks of books waiting and calling to me. So it's a problem. It is really a problem. Last but not least, this is nonfiction. This is Agatha Christie's biography. I have actually read this many, many times, which is evident by the fact that I've dog-eared pages and marked pages and the cover's all ratty. But the reason that this is back in my TBR stack is because I'm currently working on the 11th book in the BAKESHOP mysteries. 11, I know. I'm so excited. And I'm doing something slightly different with this book. I'm challenging myself and I'm writing something that is slightly out of my comfort zone, which I'm excited about. But because I'm kind of pushing myself out of that zone, I always like to go back to the great dame herself and just take little nuggets of wisdom. So I probably will not read this again cover to cover, but I definitely have a few chapters and sections that I'm going to go back to just for inspiration. Because from the writing side of me, I always want to stay inspired and learn things new, and there's no better person ever probably to learn from than Agatha Christie. I mean, come on, she is the queen of mystery. So I'm eager to kind of be in her brain again and get some serious Agatha vibes rolling in my brain as I'm working on book 11. So there you have it. My 5 TBRs this week. What's on your TBR list? And before we close out this week's 5 Things Friday, I also have to ask you, does anyone else have this problem going on at home? Now that I'm in my early 40s, I find that if I don't have these little gems on, I start to do a lot of this. My husband has been telling me for a long time that I needed reading glasses, and I have resisted, and I finally just broke down, and it's a whole new world. Suddenly I can read a book right here instead of this. So cheers to reading glasses, I guess, too. Thanks for joining me for this bookish edition of 5 Things Friday. Be sure to subscribe to my channel and click the bell so you'll get notified whenever I upload new videos. And comment below, have you read anything that's on my current reading stack? Do you have other suggestions of things that I should read, or things that you've read that you're just eager and so excited to share with the world? Let's get a little bookish trail going. And in the meantime, hope your weekend is full of great reads. Happy Friday.